Good morning, family. Good morning. Good morning. Hope y'all are doing well on this Super Bowl Sunday. Hope y'all doing good. I know you got your meats marinated, you got your dips and your chips ready, and I don't really have a dog in the fight today, but most of me and Raider Nation say fly Eagles fly today. But I'm praying that you all are doing well and that God is continuing to keep you as He is keeping me. I don't want to delay any further. Just want to jump right in today and kind of get you in and get you out. Uh, and so I want to start with the praise break moment. And this one uh, was one that I thought really resonated with me. And I don't know whether it's more of a praise break or just a lesson. And sometimes lessons are good. So let me play it for you. And I'll probably have to, I'm not sure if the sound will come in through this with this, but I definitely will narrate so you can get some understanding. So in this video you're about to see are two little boys and they're playing a game. The game is who can take the balls that are lined up in the grass and bring them back to the bucket the fastest. And I want you to observe because there's a lesson in this process. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. And so as you can see, the two little boys, one starts at the beginning and the other starts at the end. And as they go back and forth, they are grabbing the ball and putting it in the bucket. The one that starts at the beginning where the balls are closest to the bucket looks like he's winning. But the other kid who starts at the back of the line, he runs the farthest. He goes all the way to the end. He comes back, and by the end of the video, you see that the one who seemingly took the longest route is the one that won. The one who went the furthest and started way in the back seems to be the one that won. What is the message in that I saw? Sometimes, family, the long way is not really the hardest way. It gets easier as you go. The one that took the longest route, it got easier for him because as he got closer to the goal, he didn't have to go back as far to get his balls. And the other lesson that I got from that is too many shortcuts will tire you out. You can get tired in this life from taking too many shortcuts. The one who started at the beginning, ball after ball, you can get tired from too many shortcuts. Sometimes God needs us to go the long way. Sometimes it's the long way. And as we go the long way, the journey gets easier as we get closer to the goal. That's why as I age, things change for me. It gets easier as I go because my praise gets greater. And I just want to, maybe that's a shout for somebody, but on the praise break moment, I just felt that resonate with my spirit that sometimes the longest way is not really the hardest way. The longest way gets you closer to the goal. Don't get angry with God that sometimes He takes too long or that you got to travel a long way to get to where you need to be. It'll get easier as you go. Stay with Him, stay with the process. Let me jump right in. And although we had our praise break moment, you know this is Black History Month. So I also want to jump into a Black History moment. This Black History moment is about Alice H. Parker. She was born in 1895, died in 1920. But Alice H. Parker was an African American inventor whose groundbreaking work in home heating paved the way for modern central heating systems. In 1919, she received a patent for a revolutionary gas powered furnace design, a significant advancement at that time when most homes relied on coal and wood. Her design introduced the concept of natural gas distributed through heat ducts, improving efficiency and safety. Her innovation laid the foundation for the forced air systems we use today, making home heating more convenient and accessible. Many of us have had the creativity to take what we didn't have and use our hands to make it. Imagine that. Alice Parker, just when life seemed cold, God gives warmth through her hands. There's a shout there. Somebody should shout if your heat worked this winter. That's because somebody laid the foundation for you. And that is our Black History Month message for this month. That's the word on Black History. And so I want to get right into this word, jump in and jump out. And I pray that you guys are good. And let me make sure I'm prepared. If you have your Bibles, we want to stick. I don't know what I'm going to call this series, but we still talking about David. I have no idea. I think I want to call this series the They Not Like Us series, because David is this warrior that nobody could compare to. And I just think that I'll call this one until we're done with it. I just have no idea why I can't get off of David, but I'm still here. So I'm praying that you guys have been taking notes and remembering these lessons. These are stories that we learned as kids, Bible stories, David and Goliath. And here is just another chapter on David that we want to just work through. All right, and let me get the text up. If you have your Bibles, 1 Samuel 18, verse 6 through 13 is where we'll read. And let me get it for you. 1 Samuel 18, verses 6 through 13, and you will find these words. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, women from all the towns of Israel came out to meet King Saul. They sang and danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. This was their song. Saul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with tens, thousands, and me with only thousands. Next, they'll be making him their king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. The very next day, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave in his house like a madman. David was playing the harp as he did each day, but Saul had a spear in his hand, and he suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall. But David escaped him twice. Saul was then afraid of David, for the Lord was with David, and had turned away from Saul. Finally, Saul sent him away and appointed him commander over 1,000 men. And David faithfully led his troops into battle. God's word for God's people. May he add a blessing to the reading, hearing, application, and understanding of his word. For the next few moments, I want to talk to you with this subject. I'll show you super. Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so it's only fitting that we use the word. I'll show you super. The word super is a big word, especially today. I mean, it's Super Bowl Sunday. You know today. Today, everybody is getting their stuff together all over the world. It's a worldwide event. It's Super Bowl Sunday. And you know super. Super is that word that we say, and as we are cooking and preparing and the party to watch the game, we say we're finna watch the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is an adverb. In the informal text, it means especially or very, such as the cars are super fast. But it is also informal as an adjective, where it says it also means super means very good, pleasant, or excellent, as in Julie was a super girl, or simply he's a superman. I'm about to get into the text, but I don't know who you're pulling for tonight. Go Eagles. But I've seen super. I'll show you super. Super means excellent. It can't be matched or touched. It's beyond the norm and expresses that when you compare it to something else, super is just better. I don't care what you think of what you have that's great, how much is in your account, or how well you're respected in your field. I've seen things that are worth more than all that you or I have and has outworked all of us on our best day. I've seen super. Can't be rivaled by anything on this earth. And if there is a shout from anyone right now, you got one because you've seen super too. The super stuff is the things that last forever. The keeper of my soul, the reason I live, move, and have my being, that's somebody super. What you think is super pales in comparison to what super looks like when super pulls up. Yeah. I don't care who you are. When super pulls up, you know it. You know that only something supernatural can do some of the things you've seen in your life. It was supernatural that allowed you to make it out of some of the most horrific things and scenes that your life could ever hand to you. It's only by something super that saved you. Oh, I wish there was somebody who remembered what super looks like. Super looks like the car is unrecognizable, but somehow you walked out without no injury and no harm. You're not super. It was somebody super looking out for you. That's for somebody. You've seen super. Well, let's look at the text. David has seen super. He has been next to super, and super is in him. He heads back to the palace right after killing the giant that he doesn't kill by himself. He basically, in that last previous text where he slays Goliath, he says, I do this in the name of the God I serve. He basically says to Goliath, I'll show you super. Someone else is super in him that he recognizes. Family, you don't have to brag on yourself. A super act won't be ignored, and somebody will say it for you. Think about this. Look at the text. The maidens who was coming in to celebrate those who fought in battle, they come in with a song. And the song is a good song. They start singing about the king. And they say, Saul has slain thousands. But when they saw super, what David was able to do, they said David has slain his 10,000s. You see, super can't be ignored when super happens. They know that super happened, and they couldn't just sing a song that didn't match what the super thing was that they saw. That's why our praise should never match and be dumbed down when you've seen super. When you've seen super, my praise cannot be on 5. My praise got to be on 10 because I have seen super. It's got to match the height of the thing that God did. That's why, family, I challenge you that whenever God blesses you, even if it's just as simple as waking up in the morning, because you didn't have to wake up today, you ought to give him praise, because nothing but a supernatural God can cause your eyes to open, and nothing but a supernatural God could keep your heart beating all last night and blood running in your veins all last night. I serve a super God, and I tell you, he deserves a super praise. Super can't be ignored. And when God does a super thing in you, I need to let you know the truth that when God shows super out in you, there will be haters. Yeah. There'll be haters. They're going to be somebody. The ladies sing this song, and it embarrasses the one that is considered counterfeit super. Yeah, Saul used to be super, but he gave up his superpowers and God removed his spirit from him. Now that rests on David. So the counterfeit is now seen. And now they sing it in the song. Saul didn't do anything against the giant. Little David did. Saul didn't defeat Goliath. David did. So they sing a song to match the super that they saw. And so they sing this song: Saul has killed his thousands, David has killed his 10,000s. Can you imagine a party that is supposed to be a homecoming for you, and the DJ puts on a song about someone else? I mean, I know hip hop, that's called a diss track. Yeah. In the middle of the homecoming that's supposed to be for the king, they now turn the song into a song about David, which actually becomes a diss track for Saul. Yeah, so they are basically playing They Not Like Us, and Saul is Drake coming to his own release party. And David is Kendrick Lamar. That's for somebody who understands hip hop. So Saul is mad now, and he begins to hate David, and it all begins. As soon as they hate Super, they will try everything in their power to shut Super down, dismiss you, make you disappear. Every bit of your history that made you Super, they will try to erase it. But David gives us news for Capitol Hill today. I'll show you Super. And that's for somebody who's concerned about all the things they're trying to erase that was done to our people, and all the things that have made us super, that are trying to be taken away from us. You ain't got to worry about that. God says, I'll show you Super. You can't erase Super. You can't dismiss Super. You can't dumb down Super. When God shows something super to the world, it can't be ignored. I don't care what you say. You can't ignore Alice Parker's history. You can't ignore Martin Luther King's legacy. You can't ignore the things that our ancestors did for us. You can't ignore it. It won't be forgotten. I don't care what kind of books you remove. I don't care what you take it out of schools. It cannot be ignored. Because if they won't tell the lesson, we will. I'll show you Super. God is just getting started. Because I'll never stop letting him lead me, and I'll never stop trusting him. I want somebody today to watch the Super Bowl, but also watch the super that you have within your soul today. What are we watching today? I want to give you a few things to watch so that you can understand super when super happens. First thing, and let's look at the text. Watch the anger while you worship. The devil attacks you on your best days of praise. Look at David. David is simply minding his business in the next part of the text. After he gets back, Saul has hate in his heart. David is simply worshiping, playing the harp. He's playing the harp, and here comes an evil Saul. You need to know that on your best days of worship, the devil will attack you. When you're singing the song and you're worshiping God and you're thanking him for his goodness, here comes the devil. He's always going to be creeping around because he don't like super. He doesn't like what super has done to his demons and him. He doesn't like how super seems to persevere no matter how much evil he puts in the world. Love still wins, and he don't like that. Watch the anger. Gonna get madder. Gonna get worse. Sometimes it looks like it'll get worse, but remember, family, you super. You don't have to worry about the evil that's coming because super will still be taken care of. Look at the life of David. Watch their anger while you worship. That's one. Number two, watch what they throw at you. Saul threw his spear at him twice and missed him. Even skilled killers can't harm super. Let me help you. Saul was not throwing the spear as a novice. You got to understand, Saul was the king, warrior in battle. He was skilled at throwing the spear. Certainly he had slayed many people with the spear. Certainly he had fought many enemies and used his spear to gain a victory. But in this sense, he threw his spear with accuracy, with accurate intent twice and missed David. Watch what they throw at you. They can throw it all they want, but they're not going to be able to hit you because you can simply look back at them as you dip and dodge and say, I'll show you super. Third thing, and I'm almost to a close. Watch where they send you. Don't just think about what they throw at you. Don't just think about them hating on your song. Watch where they send you after they know you're super. Saul sends David into battle thinking he would die. But I know the rest of the story. He went into battle with those 1,000 men and he was victorious almost every time. And I say almost because David lost once, but he won it back because of God. Saul sent David into battle thinking he would die. But Saul didn't understand super. Wherever they send you, the same God that makes you super will keep kryptonite from you. I don't know who that's for. The same God that makes you super will make sure that you are not destroyed by anything that can harm you. Let me close now. I was up one night last week and the Superman movie Dawn of Justice came on. I love Superman. I loved him since I was a kid. It was just this thing where you want to be able to fly. And I remember having a Superman costume for Halloween. I remember having Superman underoos. You got to be, you got to be a little older to understand the underoos. And I just remember loving Superman. So whenever Superman comes on, it's got my attention, right? And so I'm watching this Superman movie that I've seen before, Dawn of Justice. And in the end of the movie, Superman dies. He sacrifices himself to save the planet because this monster Doomsday was evil and just as powerful as him. So at the end of the movie, he sacrifices himself to take out Doomsday. I got a shout on deck. Well, as the movie ended, I sat there and I said to myself, the movie is over, but that's not how this story ends. Because this story continues in the next movie called The Justice League. And in that movie, the one that you thought was dead in the last chapter or the last scene that we saw at the end of the last movie comes back to life. Superman lives. And when no one else could defeat the enemy in the new film, the alive Superman shows up to say, I'll show you super, and defeats the villain. I'm headed to my easy chair and I'm going to get my Super Bowl chili ready. But this all sounds so familiar to me, and it should sound familiar to you if your shout lies dormant. I know somebody who said on a hill called Calvary, I'll show you super. Yeah, they pierced him in his hands. They pierced him in his feet. They pierced him in his side. They put a crown of thorns on his head. And he says, I'll show you super. He hung his head and he died. They placed him in a borrowed tomb on a Friday. Stayed there all Saturday. Many people thought that was the end of the movie, but my shout is I couldn't just watch Dawn of Justice because I knew there was another movie that had another outcome. So I fast forwarded to the next movie. I wanted to see before I went to bed that what my Superman didn't end like this. My Superman got up, and I want to tell somebody that I'll show you super. There is somebody who got up on Sunday morning with all power in his hands. He says, I'll show you super. He defeated death and damnation. And now you and I have a right to the tree of life because of his sacrifice. I'll show you super. I'll tell you his name. He called him a wonderful counselor, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and he lives in you and I. I'll show you super. The one who's coming back again. The one whom is my protector, my waymaker, my sustainer, my very salvation. His name is Jesus. And I don't care what you think is super in this life. There will never be anyone more super than him. I have never seen anyone die and come back and live again for eternity. They ain't seen nobody. Nobody's greater. Nobody's come close. I'll show you super. I'll show you super. I'll show you a Superman. I'll show you Jesus. David was just a precursor. He was the first David. But Jesus, one for all time, second David, did what the first David, although God was with him, God says to Jesus, only son to the world, and he still says it today. If you would trust him, I'll show you super. My son is super. That's all I got for you today, this Super Bowl. I pray that God continues to bless and keep you. We'll talk more about some other things that we'll be trying to do this week. I want to jump into some different things, and we're still putting it together. We only in our first, actually our second month per se, but almost a month and a half. But God is still up to something. Love you guys. I pray that will bless you this week. That you will know how super you are because He lives in you. And so when the devil comes your way, thinking he's going to defeat you, be like David. Dip and dodge, whatever he throws at you, and then say to yourself, I'll show you super. God bless you. I love you. Nothing you can do about it.